Hello and welcome to What the Tech from Bose AI, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Francis Beauchamp-Verdon, co-founder, VP, and business development director at All-Electricity, or AWL-E. There, Francis and his team have developed a revolutionary method to move electricity wirelessly that not only breaks all boundaries of innovation, but also has immense potential for exploitation. Their mission is to provide industries seeking innovation a way to optimize their processes and make wireless electricity commonplace, while meeting the growing consumer demand for novelty and spatial freedom. It's a big mission and one that takes a lot of passion and entrepreneurial spirit to launch, which Francis has in spades. He's an alumni of the Creative Destruction Lab. He's been part of the Centech MTL incubator and is part of the Mars Discovery District community, to name just a few of the networks Francis has leveraged to drive his world-changing ideas. I'm thrilled to pick his brain on how he built AWL-E, his journey as an entrepreneur, and what the rest of 2024 and beyond has in store. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Paul. This was an amazing introduction. It's greatly appreciated.
So happy to have you on the show, Francis. And I know I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but I'd love to hear from you. How did you get started in the entrepreneurship space?
Well, I was raised by my dad to be a very social person. When I got into CJEP, I started my first company, which was an event company with mixed multiple types of different art. But at one point, I also had a passion for engineering and innovation. So I chose to go in engineering, where I had the chance to meet with some brilliant minds, way more brilliant than I am. And I used my social skills and my energy to try to tap in and make their project as successful as possible. In terms of general entrepreneurship, this is my foundation.
I love that. And it's actually great because that's a big differentiator between a lot of other founders we talk to. A lot of them, I don't want to say don't have social skills, because that's obviously not the case. But when you're talking to folks who are developing such deep tech that you are working on and that are so in the weeds with R&D, that's usually their sweet spot. It's the heads down space. It's the focusing on the research, focusing on the development. But I think there was so much to having those social skills. So I'm really, really happy to hear that is kind of the differentiator for you as a founder and your path to success as an entrepreneur too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'd love to know, again, could you tell me a little bit about how AWL-E came together? I guess the genesis there between your founding team and just what inspired you to dive in on this mission?
So my CEO was Emmanuel, a brilliant mind who invented the technology with another one of our co-founders, went into an accelerator that you named in the intro called Centech. And on their first trip there, they were told by Centech they were too much of inventor and scientists. They were trying to push a technology. And then so Emmanuel, the CEO, put his company on hold because he wasn't selected by the incubator. Me and him met working in a robotic arm company that does robot arm for powered wheelchair. And he told me about his wireless power invention over there. And he told me that he tried in the past at Francis. I see the business aspect our team was lacking before. Would you join us and we'll give another go at the accelerator? I found a few more partners, and we were actually selected that time. And we had an office at Centech in Montreal downtown for the first 2 years, where we found our first investor and our idea for our first product.
That is so cool. And I'm glad that you shouted out that accelerator that you had been working on, because a big thing that we love to talk about on this podcast is community and how you can leverage members of your community. To that end, I know that I've met you because we're connected with our friends at Mars Discovery District, which I also mentioned in your intro. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you're the only Montreal-based member of the Mobility Hub today. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the accent you hear right now is French. So I always have to work a little bit harder to come over that language barrier. But yes, we've been in the Montreal ecosystem for quite a while. But when you build hardware, when you build technology, you need as much support as possible. And Mars was the best way for us to get in one of the biggest provinces of Canada, which is Ontario. And their connection, their support, and their mentor is really the fastest way to know how to best implement yourself in new territories. So now we're trying to expand to Canada. And once that is done, we'll move to the US.
I like it. No, that's a great approach too. Again, find partners who are already established in the markets you want to go into, and also find the complementary solutions as well. Yeah. I think specifically with the Mobility Hub, since we've been having these conversations with members of the Mars Discovery District, I'm seeing how all of these different solutions really complement each other. And I'm also seeing how AWL-E too, you had mentioned it, the robotics, things like that. The use cases seem like they would be well beyond even just mobility, but I'd love if we could talk a little bit about what differentiates what you're doing between other maybe products in the market or other businesses trying to build a product like yours that isn't even succeeding? Yeah.
Absolutely. I would say that different is our foundation. The reason our CEO invented our technology, because he would look at the wireless power technology in our phone and would find it so inefficient. And that was him as a teenager. And then he got obsessed with reading some Nikola Tesla's blueprint. And he saw that there would be another way to do wireless power than the one that was currently known in the scientific community. And through reading those plans, he built the technology that we use that's called capacitive coupling. The result is the same. And at the end of the day, you either power the device or you power the battery. But our technology is much safer, has a greater range, better spatial freedom, because we use electric field instead of magnetic field. And magnetic field has the problem to generate heat when it touches metal, would come with plenty of regulation. That's why people use it in their kitchen. While our technology is perfect for charging. And we've developed this technology using the cutting edge electronic technology on the market. And I like the fact that you talked about the fact that our technology could do so many other things, because that was our biggest problem initially. We didn't know what we wanted to do with this technology. We thought about charging toothbrush, we thought about smart homes, but we wanted to build technology that would have an impact. And me and Manuel having a background in rehabilitation due to our workplace where we met, and also due to the fact that I almost went through a powered wheelchair after a big accident when I was 21. Charging power wheelchair just seemed like the best thing we could do socially for our technology. And once that market is achieved and we make our company financially sound and known to that product, we'll move to charging other devices such as electric car, electric buses, electric bike, and all those different beautiful things that could improve our community and sustainability.
I am so happy to hear that. Just about the true mission that you guys are on. It's an amazing technology. There are a lot of folks who make new IP for the sake of making new IP, but they don't also always have that solution mindset. They're not trying to solve a real problem. They're just trying to make something cool and hope someone buys it. You're actually problem solving here. And that's something that, again, has been a thread with all of these conversations with folks from the Mars Discovery District. And it's solving a few problems that are personal too. I'm very sorry to hear about what happened when you were 21. Yeah, and also
I was very lucky to not end up in a power wheelchair, but it's not everybody that's lucky like me. And if I was paralyzed from the neck down, I would truly wish to not depend on the nurse or my parents to charge a most important device of my day to day, which the power wheelchair is for them, their leg. This is how they move around. If they wake up with a dead power wheelchair because a nurse or someone forgot to plug it, they're basically bedbound if someone doesn't push them around all day. So we're charging the most important device of their day-to-day for most of them.
I love that. It's empowering them to take ownership of their lives. They don't have to basically resign themselves to a scenario that isn't going to be comfortable on the one hand, but honestly just restrictive. They can still be as mobile as they want to be within the limitations. But again, I love the point you made too about better spatial freedom that all of the AWL-E technology enables, especially around the heating and everything like that, because you can actually charge devices without the ancillary impact on people. You're not going to cook folks, more or less, is what it comes down to.
Beautiful thing about charging the way we do it is that we use electric field. And the electric field has no impact on organic matter. Electric field cannot go through the skin or through anything organic. Actually, whenever you plug your laptop, you turn on your TV. Whenever you send power through a wire, there's actually an electric field that appears around that wire. We just found a way to make that electric field resonate between the transmitter and the receiver. We don't set the power distance. We generate the power directly in the device. That's why it makes it so safe. And it also allows us to make it happen with great misalignment and also true object, which enables so many different innovations and is another differentiator for us compared to our competitor that often use inductive technology.
Inductive. Okay. Yeah. I was going to say, it's all terminology that I'm familiar with. And you're making a lot more sense by tying it all together for me right now, actually. This is very easy to digest the way you just phrased that. So now I'd love to know, too, we talked a lot about the Mars Discovery District and also the other incubator and accelerator programs that you've been a part of. What's on deck for the future? What are you guys looking for in the short term and over the rest of 2024 and even beyond? I know that this is one use case for the technology that you're developing, but it's a powerful one. What's on the roadmap maybe beyond that? Yeah.
So I'll be breaking some news for you right now. We are actually going to announce in a very close future an equity financing by one of the biggest financial entity in Quebec called Desjardins Capital. They will be supporting us, and we'll announce the news of that financing with another very important event for us. We will be showcasing our technology at the game in Paris in a few days from now. On the 28th, there's going to be the launch of the Paralympic, where you'll be able to find an agile station, the Olympic Village, to showcase to all the different Paralympic athletes that will be passing by, and we'll be ready to explain them how it works. And that technology will be coming on the market very soon. Actually, our first order, the agile station, will be receiving it this year before Christmas. So we have the Paralympic game, which is like our big announcement event to the world, very closely followed by the delivery of the first agile station on the market.
That is so exciting. That is huge news. And again, we're all still riding the high from the Olympics that just happened. I'm actually really excited for the Paralympics to just watch as a spectator this year, because
this year you should look at the Paralympic tennis. Those athletes in powered wheelchair rolling to the ball back and forth is phenomenal. The Paralympic basketball, so many incredible sports. And we just had today actually a woman from Quebec called Ariane Dubuc. She's a Boccia athlete, which is like the bowling version for people that are quadriplegic. So they play the ball using their hand, their head, and their powered wheelchair. Those people have such a powerful will, and it's such a pride for us to be able to either help them or help their community of people that lack mobility.
That is exciting. That is so, so cool. Like, again, I just want to keep saying congratulations, Francis. I think you have clearly hit your sweet spot here. And I'm so happy for you guys that it's something that's coming together right now, too. The timing for this.
We still have tons of challenges along the way, Paul. This has been a crazy ride until now, and there's many more hump and problem that will happen in the future. But what matters is that we know our mission is important, and that we have investors that actually support that mission. And a group like Mars, group like the Toyota Mobility Hub, the Mobility Unlimited Hub, and the Toyota Foundation that believes in what we do. So many times in the beginning, we were told the power wheelchair market is just too small. You should go somewhere else. Well, we stick to that mission, and it's now paying, because it took a little bit of time, but people realize how important what we do in that segment, in that market is.
Absolutely. And I think being resilient, I think that's something that you just spoke to here, which is very, very important for all founders. And it actually is going to tee up my next question. But I want to just emphasize again that you were told no, but you guys stuck to your guns because you believed in your mission. I think all founders listening should take a page from your book in that regard. Sure, if you go to an incubator, for instance, and you find out your solution doesn't actually have a product market fit, or there isn't going to be a path to productionalization, of course, you got to pivot. But if you are getting reasons like the market's not big enough, but your solution is solving a huge problem like you guys are, stick to your guns. I love that. It's making sure that you have the integrity baked in from day one and you don't compromise on that. So that is a great point. Now, to my question, what's some advice that you'd want to give other folks who are looking to become entrepreneurs today in 2024? Again, you and your founder have pretty different but complementary backgrounds, it sounds like. Yeah, and so I'd love to know from your perspective or from what you've seen, what's some advice you would give somebody looking to get started in the startup game today?
I would say that having the right team with the people with different motivation, actually, it came from the mind of our CEO. He knew what he was good at, and he found the right people that were really different from each other. Often it's difficult because similar mind will get along and they will build a team. But me and my CEO, we actually were never agreeing on anything at the beginning. But we're ready to have those long, hard discussions where our two different minds would end up aligning and would make a much better vision. And then when you go to an incubator and you speak to 10 different mentors, 5 of them are going to tell you something. The other 5 will tell you something else. But since me and him represented two sides of the spectrum, and we aligned, we were able to stand by our idea. So I'd say find the right team, but team doesn't necessarily mean you always get along. It means that you believe that you and the other person has the same long-term vision, but are ready to bicker at the moment to find the right ideas.
It's got to be somebody who you're willing to get into those fights with, because you both believe in the end goal so passionately that you don't want to compromise, and that includes with the person who you're building with. I think that's another thing that has come up a lot on the podcast lately where we've talked to founders. It's make sure you understand your limitations, surround yourself with people who complement your skill sets. So if you're a deeply technical founder, get somebody who's got those social skills and can sell the business for you.
Yeah.
And make sure that you can gut check each other. Like, be that person who will gut check the other one on your team. That is fantastic advice. I really appreciate that, Francis. Let's dive into the R&D too. Now, I know we did talk about what makes your unique wireless charging different than anything else in the market, but tell me about the R&D and the work that's actually gone into building the solution.
So we are fundamentally a hardware company, which is much more rare. There's been that big software boom, and now it's that big AI boom, which is all based on the server and the material of someone else. Well, hardware is a huge part of innovation. You can't make the new innovation and keep running them on the same physical material. We wouldn't have been able to make such a good wireless power technology if we kept using the previous system. So we had to design everything, every board, even a mathematical equation from scratch. And a thing like R&D shred, when we do what we do, is so important because one mistake will cost us 3 weeks of work. Because we have to redesign the electronic board, reorder them to China, you get the green board, and you solder 1,000 little components on it, you spin your coil around a ferrite, you install them on your board, you plug everything together, you press on and you hope it works. And when it doesn't, you start over again. And shred credit can cover a big percentage of our salary in Canada and also cover part of our consulting and part of our material is a huge thing to allow us to have that runway that allows us to get to the finish line.
Absolutely. And it gives you the coverage to get it right. Like you
absolutely
you want to be able to iterate because that's the whole point. You're experimenting. It's research and experimental development.
Yeah. And I was actually talking to an investor from Boston. He said that only he loves to do hardware in Canada due to shred. He's like, look, I'm going to give them $2 million US. It becomes 2.8 Canadian. And then they have so much shred that they can hold out the time it requires to do a hardware innovation. So all those support you get from the government and all those consulting firms that helps you get it, because at one point it's just too much paperwork to do by yourself. You have to focus on the tech. So those consulting firm and those partner like Mars, like the Mobility Hub and like Shred Credit Institution, just makes a big difference to be able to get all that support for software, AI, but mostly and so much for hardware company like this.
I am so happy you brought the hardware component into the conversation because I think that's a unique thing. And I think a lot of hardware companies think, oh, I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not doing something unique here. You might be. And also, those are more expensive research and development initiatives by and large. And if you can recoup 60 cents on the dollar,
man,
why would you leave that on the table? Yeah.
It changed everything.
Absolutely.
It wouldn't be possible without it. It's as simple as that. We wouldn't. So many times before financing round, we ended up with like minus 5,000 in our bank account, tapping our credit line, and that with a 60% shred. So we just wouldn't have made it otherwise.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad that you took advantage of it and that you guys made it over the finish line. I hate to say, oh, I'm so happy to hear that about a very trying scenario, but honestly, and another point I'm happy about too is I say it a lot on the show as somebody from Boston. We just really do not have that government funding opportunity. It is just not something that's available. There's a lot of private equity down here, and there's a lot of opportunities from an institutional point. But the government really it wants to get in the business of driving innovation up in Canada. And I think it's...
Yeah, but the US investors sign bigger check. One is for that reason, so that they can last that long. In Canada, we have smaller check, but we have more support. But when a Canadian company, that sweet spot where they're interesting enough for a US company, you can get both benefits at the same time. Those benefits, they get exponential with each other.
I love it. Exactly. That's exactly how people need to be making advantage of this program. And again, stacking your options, making sure you're not leaning too heavily on one, but you're just maximizing your access to all of them and doing the due diligence too. I know that a lot of the VCs that we talk to, if you're not doing shred and you're shred eligible, they don't want to work with you. You're not doing your due diligence. You're not spending their money well. Yeah, it's them throwing their money away when they're like, you should be recouping that 60% of what we just gave you and extending your runway. So that is just Very, very wise business building. And I'm so happy to hear it, Francis. Francis, this was an absolute pleasure. I cannot thank you enough for hopping on the show with me.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure to be able to meet with you. And I'd like to just finish on a special note for two main spokespersons, which are Farais, who's a 17 years old boy, a coder that's paralyzed from the neck down. And he's gonna be our first ever user to try the product. It's because of him that we will be able to fix all little kinks that happen when we do our hardware. Same thing for Ariane, a woman that's also a power wheelchair user that helped us develop our technology. And I want to give them a special shout out because it wouldn't be possible without them.
I love that. You're going to be driving world-changing innovation, but it started with individuals.
Exactly. Started with those two.
I love it. Francis, this
Thank
was
you
an
so
absolute
much.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, Paula.